My name is Jay Thompson. I'm the pastor at Pathway Church here in Conway, and we believe that story is important. Your story, my story, everybody's story. But most importantly, we believe that God wants to shape your story, your life, for a greater purpose. And one of the ways that we do that is through this podcast, where you're going to get the opportunity to hear from your neighbors, your leaders, difference makers and dreamers in our community of what makes Conway so amazing. So sit back, maybe grab you a cup of coffee, and hear someone's story about their path to Conway.
I want to welcome you to the Pathway to Conway podcast. I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to meet and talk with a new friend today. As we get started, I want to remind you that the Pathway to Conway podcast is all about giving people an opportunity to tell their stories, and stories specifically related to Conway, South Carolina. And as we get going in this, what we're going to have an opportunity is to step down the path about people's purpose, their arrival, their transformation, and kind of their heart and how their heart has been impacted by Conway, South Carolina. The podcast is sponsored by Pathway Church. And Pathway, we believe this, everybody has a story, and actually God has a story for your life. And what he wants you to do is just every day take a step down that path to be who he's called you to be. And you know what? Probably do some things you never thought you'd be able to do. So today I want to welcome Deborah, or do you go by Debbie, correct?
I go by Debbie.
Okay, so Deborah would probably be the name that mom or dad would have called you if you got in trouble, right? So that was for me, my name being Jay. Jay's my nickname. My full name is John Thomas Thompson IV. So if I ever heard that mentioned by mom and dad, I was about to go see Jesus, right? You're about to have one of them come to Jesus moments when it came that way. So, but Debbie, you and I met through this podcast that you had saw it posted on Facebook. And on Facebook there, I say, if you got a story you want to tell, to reach out to me. And you and I have exchanged some emails, some texts. You shared some stories with me already of some things and stuff like that. So take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are. Tell us about your family. Tell us about what you do and what you've done in the past and that kind of stuff. So Get us started.
Well, my name is Debbie. My maiden name is Ammons, which is a very familiar name around this area. I grew up on a farm in Socastee, about halfway between Myrtle Beach and Conway.
Okay.
And my family were farmers. My dad later became a building contractor and built a lot of homes and businesses and motels in the area. I myself spent my summers working on the farm. Tobacco was my summer job.
Was that the main thing on the farm, or what all did y'all have on the farm?
We had tobacco was the main thing. We had soybeans, corn. Some summers we did truck farming, and the big 18-wheelers would come in and we would load them with tomatoes and cucumbers and cantaloupes and watermelon, everything. We grew just about everything that any of the supermarkets would sell.
Yeah.
And then we also raised our own pigs and cows and most of what we ate.
Just a complete farm when you think
Yes.
about it. Awesome.
My dad became a building contractor. He had an 8th grade education, but was the smartest man I've ever known.
Uh-huh.
And he built all over this area, watched it grow up. The last job that he completed was Chuck's Steakhouse in North Myrtle Beach.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And I went on to college. I was the only one in my family that took that route. I went to Coastal, and then I went to USC and became a physical education teacher, and I taught 29 years, 23 of which was right here in Horry County.
Yeah. 23 years in the school system. Did you retire, I guess, from the school system? 2016. So with that, there is work life, and then there's life after retirement. So
Yes.
what does that look like for you now?
Well, at first I knew I had to stay busy because that's just who I am. And I didn't really have a desire to go back and sub, although the first year after I retired, I went back to my school that I retired from and helped the new PE teacher coach the archery team because I'd been coaching archery for 4th and 5th graders for about 4 years.
Okay.
So I helped her with that. And then after that, I reached out to a friend who owns an assisted living center here in Carolina Forest, and I helped him. I went once a week and did a devotion with the seniors, and I did that for maybe 3 or 4 years until COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
And when COVID hit, I was not allowed to visit, so that was very difficult.
Mm.
And after COVID, and I had an opportunity to go back, it was very difficult because many of them had passed on, not necessarily from COVID, but from just old age things.
Yeah.
So I began to look for something new to do, and I found that they were building a senior center across the street from where we live now.
Okay.
And I went over and questioned them about what they do there and joined, and I've been volunteering there ever since.
Oh, awesome. So when you were a PE teacher, what age group were you? Middle school, high school, elementary?
I've done all.
Yeah.
When I lived in Columbia for 5 years, my first 5 years out of Carolina, I taught special needs physical education from age 4 up to age 21 when they would leave the school system.
Wow.
And I did a recreationally based curriculum with these students to teach them how to socialize in the community. And then when I moved back here, they didn't have that program. Inclusion was becoming a new thing, and students were being mainstreamed into the regular PE setting. So I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th in North Myrtle for 9 years, and then they built a school about 2.5 minutes from my driveway, and I got to go to Palmetto Bays Elementary, where I worked until I retired in 2016.
Awesome.
And I had 3-year-olds through 5th grade at that school.
Wow. That's a special age to work with for sure. My wife's here. She's dropping something off for us. She's going to drop off the wheel of reel that we're going to use in just a second. But my wife actually taught pre-K. She was in pre-K and doing that. She's done that in multiple different things around the state of Georgia and things like that. And knowing that age, that's very special.
It's my favorite.
And they're very impressionable during that time. Now, it's interesting that you worked with one end of the age spectrum, and then you, after retirement, and got involved there, working with the other end of the age spectrum. What are the things that are common to both of those, and what are the things that are very, very different with both of those?
Well, the experiences are the big difference.
Yeah.
The young kids haven't had those experiences yet. But when we line up for lunch, who's going to be in the front of the line versus who's going to be in the end of the line is the same.
Yeah.
And who's talking across the room that might be talking about you, that's the same. But they're precious. And I love just giving back because I've had so much given to me that's my passion, is to give back to them.
Awesome. So family-wise, tell us about married, kids, any of that stuff.
Yes. Well, Mark and I have been married for going on 26 years. I have 2 sons, and they were from a previous marriage. The oldest is 45, and the youngest is 41. We have 5 grandchildren and a great-grand on the way in March.
Oh, awesome. That's exciting. We have 2 kids, Thomas and Bethany. Thomas is 32, be 33. Bethany will be 31. Both are married. Bethany and Demetrius, that's my son-in-law. Thomas is married to Cassandra, my daughter-in-law. But Bethany and Demetrius now have 2 children, Aubrey and Elliot. Elliot was just born December the 10th, so he's just over a month old now. And we leave Sunday, is that right? Sunday evening to go spend a whole week down in Disney with my kids and grandkids and all of that. So we're super excited about that.
I'm sure.
All right, so we talked about family, kind of talked about work history and involvement and stuff like that. So we're going to jump to the section called This or That. I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. You pick one that kind of aligns with you and maybe tell me why you would choose that. I ask this to most everybody. Are you a coffee drinker or tea/sweet tea? Which one would you be?
Now, I would say more of a coffee drinker, usually 2 cups in the morning.
Yeah.
And
all right, so what do you put in it? Is it all black? You put any sweetener and stuff?
It has to not taste like coffee. It has to have hazelnut or something in there.
It is creamer with a little bit of coffee. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, all righty.
Yes.
All right.
But I was an avid sweet tea drinker
Yeah.
my entire life. That's what we had at every meal except breakfast.
Yeah.
So I do love my sweet tea.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from it just because of the sugar.
Yeah.
But I still love it.
Yeah, it's hard to beat. I usually drink a cup of coffee in the mornings, but at the end of the day, if I had to give one up, I'd give coffee up before I'd give sweet tea up right now.
I hear you.
That's just, I don't know if that's, I don't know, it's just when you grow up with that, it's just, and you go somewhere and you ask for tea somewhere else, you assume it's going to be sweet tea. And some places, and I've been around the country before, they don't even know what sweet tea is. And I'm
they
like,
give you sweet and low.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not the same.
No.
One of my good friends talks about those things with the sweet and low in the pink packet, and I think it's Equal or something that's in the blue one. And he talks about the way he does his sweet tea. He says, well, I can't do either. He says, because this one causes cancer and this one causes memory loss. He said, so I put both of them in there. That way when I get cancer, I don't remember it. And I'm like, I'm not sure that that's the same as what real sweet tea is when it comes to that. But all right, so let's do this or that. Cook at home or go out to eat? Both. So
equal, I think.
If it's a special night, a special occasion, are you going to go somewhere or are you going to cook a special meal at home?
I guess it depends on what the special occasion. If it's our anniversary, we'd probably go somewhere.
Okay.
If it's Thanksgiving
It's
or
a family
Christmas
gathering.
Eve, it's at home, and I have the things that I know the family likes that I want to make for them.
All right, so let's just say next year, Mandy and I show up at Thanksgiving at y'all's house.
Okay.
What's going to be the food? What's going to be the menu?
It's going to be all Southern. It's going
Yeah.
to be ham and turkey. It's going to be mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, brown rice, green beans, probably 8 to 10 layer chocolate cake, rolls, sweet potato souffle.
Okay.
Everything that I grew up eating.
Yep. So it sounds like we got a lot in common. That y'all probably grew up like I did. When in doubt, just bring a casserole, because a casserole can fix a lot of different things in life.
Absolutely.
When it does that. So, all right. So last one would be this. Are you more likely to text somebody first or call somebody first?
Probably text now.
Yeah.
But then again, it depends on who it is.
Yeah. So with the kids, do you text more or call more?
I do both.
Yeah. For us, it's the quick text that we get from them going, hey, are y'all home? Or whatever. And then that's usually followed up with a phone call. Or I say phone call, it's really followed up more with FaceTime so that we can talk to the kids and see them, or we can see the grandkids and that kind of stuff.
Well, since my kids are both here and their families are here, text might be, can I call you?
Yeah.
If it's something fast or like right before bedtime, like when they travel, I always text my sons and say, I'm praying for your safe travels.
Yeah.
Because they might be on an airplane or about to get on an airplane, or they could be in a meeting if they've already arrived. So I try not to interrupt that. So I'll just send them something to say, hey, I'm praying for you.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom and dad would always be, hey, text us when you get there and let us know and that kind of stuff. But most of the time when it came to mom and dad and family, most of the time that's probably a quick or a phone call as opposed to a quick text when it comes to that. So I'll ask one more this and that question. Are you the jump into the crowd and get mixing and talking, or are you the step back, laid back kind of a person? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that. But.
Yep, I think my husband could answer that even better than me. I'm going to work the room.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to know everybody. I will be able to tell you things about them that he will say, how in the world did you know that? But that's just who I am.
Yeah. Well, Debbie's husband, Mark, is sitting right over here. And Mark, you probably get the same questions that I do. when you go out with your buddies, Debbie would probably go, what'd y'all talk about? And you go, you go play golf, what'd you talk about? Golf. You go fishing, what do you talk about? Well, you don't talk because you're fishing, and that kind of stuff. But for you and my wife, y'all go and have those conversations like that, and y'all know all the details and all the different stuff, and I'm like, they're doing good, I think, right? Kind of that way sometimes. So, all right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump on the path. We're going to go through the different pieces that we talked about purpose, arrival, transformation, and heart. So we'll start here with purpose. And here's what I know of connecting with people for multiple decades is everybody has a purpose. Not everybody can vocalize always what that purpose is sometimes clearly, but there's something behind everybody that drives who they are and what they do, how they live, how they talk, and all that. So one of the first questions I always ask is, what do you feel most passionate about right now? What do you like? I'm all in, I'm committed to this right now. What is that for you?
Well, because of my faith, I think my number one focus is that my children and my grandchildren know who Jesus is and what he means to me and their pop.
Yeah.
And that is what's most important, because I know where I'm going to go for eternity and I know where I would like them to be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we share that same commonality of faith in Jesus as our Lord and Savior. And I agree with that. Mandy and I first got married. She'd grown up in church, but actually it was one night after we were married, we were talking about it. And she realized she had walked an aisle when she was younger, but she never really accepted. And so I had the opportunity in the bed not long after we were married, sit there and talk and lead her to the Lord. And also had the opportunity to baptize both of my children as they accepted the Lord as well. And there's something special about that as a parent and as a spouse to see faith important that way. So if with that, let's think about this. How does your purpose, how does that faith purpose and really wanting to see a difference maybe in your kid's life for that, how do you see that connecting up with the Conway area and with what do you see from a faith standpoint and the connections and stuff for that within the Conway community?
Well, a lot of my roots, I think, are from Conway. Not just that we went to Conway every Saturday and maybe doctor's appointments in between, but I spent a lot of time as a child and then later as a teenager visiting many of the Conway churches. Sunday afternoon was often a singing convention at some church in the area, all around the Conway area. At the time, I didn't really know how to appreciate it because I thought, oh no, I got to go do another singing convention all Sunday afternoon when I would rather be playing. But as I got older, I learned how to appreciate that because I got to know not just the different churches in the area, but I got to know the people that represented those churches.
Yeah. Now, singing, you had talked about that you'd had an opportunity in the past to kind of be in a group and sing in different places. Tell us that story.
So when I was still in high school, I met a family who came to a church in Socastee that I was playing the piano for because they didn't have a pianist. It wasn't the church that I was a member of or the church that my family attended, but it was close by. And I loved that little church. It was Sweet Home Free Will Baptist Church. So I would go and play the piano for them. And I met a family from Conway who worshiped at PD Free Will Baptist Church out on 378.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all into Southern gospel and bluegrass. And I just loved it. It was so much fun. The daughter in this family, became a good friend of mine and invited me to visit her over the summer on a farm off of the Cates Bay Road. And I spent a lot of time there. In the evenings after dinner, we would go out on the big front porch and sing Southern gospel. And everybody in her family played an instrument and they all sang, and it was just great. It was so much fun. And then they introduced me to the Red White family. And Mr. Red White had a group that sang on Channel 6 every Sunday morning. They went to I think they went to Juniper Bay Baptist Church. And he just adopted me into their family and called me the pretty little girl from Sockasty. And every Sunday morning I was on their show at 9 a.m., Channel 6 out of Wilmington.
Oh, wow.
But we would meet in Conway on Laurel Street every Monday night, and we would drive to Wilmington and film the show for the following Sunday. And we would all pile into his big car, and he and his 2 daughters and the banjo player and several others, as many as we could fit in there.
That's how long did that go on? That's a pretty unique experience. For not everybody has the opportunity. One, has the ability to sing. Two, has the opportunity to be able to sing in front of others, and then to be able to do that on television. I mean, that's a pretty unique experience. How long did that go on?
Until I think I was a sophomore at Coastal.
Oh, wow.
Whenever,
So quite a few years.
Yeah.
Wow. So with that, what was it like? How when you would go and y'all would film it and stuff like that? What did a typical filming session of that look like? Was it, how many songs would y'all do? What was a typical?
Well, sometimes I would sing a song with his family, but most of the time I just did solos, and they did the accompaniment.
Oh, wow.
And it was just very, very unique. And
yeah.
all the people that sang on the show, it wasn't just his family, it was other people also. And 30 minutes, it was, you were in front of the bright lights and the cameras and them giving you the cues and when you were live, and it was fun.
Awesome. So is that music, is that carried on with you up until today?
I love Southern gospel.
Yeah.
But I
favorite Southern gospel song. What's your go-to? I need you to come sing on Sunday. What are you going to sing?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably He Touched Me.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom's favorite was a hymn, but it was, I would consider a lot of Southern gospels would sing it was Because He Lives. That's a good one.
Yep, I love that one.
And actually today I was taking my dad down to physical therapy, and he loves Southern gospel as well. I mean, I grew up with that as well too, but we were listening to the cathedral sing, and it was George Yancey, who has since passed, but the bass singer in that. I love hearing his stories, incredible voice as well, but just loving to hear their stories and things like that. There's something super authentic about sometimes I think Southern gospel has a way of putting the phrases in a way that communicate sometimes more clearly than some of the others. Some songs I hear and stuff, and so I at my heart, that's what I grew up with as well, and I like a lot of different kind of music, but
Me too.
But I am not a singer. All right, I mean, if I sing, people don't love Jesus, but I love to listen to music, and so it's neat when I get to meet somebody that's very good when it comes to singing and doing all that kind of stuff. So that's a pretty unique story of how connected with somebody in the Conway community, going to Wilmington to film the stuff that went out on Channel 6. Is that what you said, right? Yeah. And who knows how many people that sometimes I would be able to reach. We never know the impact that we have if we will use simply something we're good at, that God's given us an ability to use, and that's a great example of being able to do that. So growing up for you, was there a certain person or experience that had a major impact when it came to you and your purpose and your faith?
My grandmother.
Grandma.
On my dad's side.
What'd you call your grandmother?
Grandma.
Grandma?
Grandma Desi.
Grandma Desi.
Yep. She was beautiful. She always wore dresses and an apron. She was an excellent cook, lived right down the road from me, and to her, I was everything.
Yeah.
She would come over. She started losing her eyesight. she could still walk from her house down the dirt road to our house, and she would come over in the afternoon and say, "Can you just sing for me?" And she would sit in the living room, and I would just play the piano and sing. She loved "I Want My Lord to Be Satisfied with Me." That was her favorite song.
Yeah.
So when she passed, she always said, "I want you to sing this at my funeral." And I would say, "Of course I will, Grandma."
Yeah,
but
tough.
I didn't really mean it. And never really thought, I mean, I did mean it, but I didn't really think I'd have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did.
Yeah.
And
it's tough.
when she passed away, I felt like I had to do what I promised her that I would do.
Yeah.
But she was very instrumental in encouraging me and believing in me, and she thought I was the best singer in the world, even though I knew I wasn't, but she thought I was.
Yeah. So, being a grandma now yourself, and almost a great grandmother, what do your grandkids call you?
Nana.
Nana. All right. And you said, was it
Pop?
Pop? So Pop and Nana. So for us, it's I'm Papa J, and my wife's called Mimi. So it's Papa and Mimi that we go by. But you know what? Grandparents, especially grandmas, have a way of, they can have multiple grandkids. And somehow, some way, they make every grandkid think they're the most important grandkid to them. And, not everybody is blessed to have that relationship with their grandparents that way. So many people today don't live in the same community or state even as their grandparents. And so for them, grandparents are people who send an envelope on birthdays and Christmas and that kind of stuff, but they don't have that relationship. So that's another very unique thing. Probably a lot of people don't always have that when it comes to that. And what an incredible blessing. Sounds like that she was in your life. I wrote down this question. What's one word that those closest to you, what's one word they would use to describe you?
A giver.
A giver. Okay, so let's expand on that. Why would people say that about you think?
Well, it's never about me. It's always what I can give to somebody else. My husband always says I would give the last dime we had to somebody else if I knew that they had a need. And I'm thankful that God and I have a close relationship because He often impresses upon my heart that there's a need. And maybe no one else has ever told me that, but there's a need, and He'll just lay that on my heart, or He'll say, "You need to do this for this person or somebody else." And I'm thankful that He made me the way He did, that I would care about others before myself.
Yeah. What I have found with most couples, there is the giver/dreamer, and there is the practical/planner person. And so it sounds like Mark may be more of the process planner, practical.
Yes.
In our marriage, I'm the dreamer. I will do that. I'm like Captain Impulse is what my wife calls me sometimes. And she's the one. I mean, she has already. Kids are coming here next year for Christmas. She's already got all of that beginning to plan out for them, and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, it's January. I'm like, we'll figure that out later. But you know what? That's who she is, and that's what floats her boats and gives her purpose and peace. And so I'm all with that. But a lot of times it is that way, especially in a marriage.
I am a planner, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're both very organized. We plan out. We're list people. But we reach a very happy median, I should say, because if God impresses something on my heart, I'll say, "I think we need to do this." And He doesn't question that. He's always on board, but maybe it's not something that He thought of first.
Yeah. List makers, but maybe not the same thing on the list, right?
Right.
That may be more it. So purpose at the heart for you is your faith that you placed in Jesus, and that's the driver. So let's move to the next session of arrival. So typically when I do the interview, I have someone who has moved here, or I have a Conway native, born and bred and do that. You're kind of that hybrid. Grew up very, very close in I can never say that, Socastee. And you grew up there, but growing up, you were in and out of Conway and all of that. So take us back to childhood. You've talked us through some of that. What brought you to Conway? Not just the singing, not just maybe some friends, but what were the things that kind of brought you and connected you, and maybe even connected with Conway because of that? What were some of those things for you as a kid, being in Conway when you found yourself there?
Well, both sides of my family, my mom and my dad, both had extended family in the Conway area. So that in itself was the reason to go there. But I think that long before I was thought of, they went to Conway and they took my older brothers, and it was town. That's where they went to shop. Everything they bought from there, whether it was farm supplies, clothing, groceries, whatever it was. And then later for me, when I really have my first memories of Conway, it was going to town on Saturday afternoon at 2:00 because my mom would have a standing hair appointment. And initially, the salon that she went to was on the second block off of Main Street, just past 4th Avenue on the right.
Okay.
Near where the museum, I think, is. There was a salon on the right-hand side, and the ladies that owned it was called Nellie's Beauty Salon, and they were all sisters.
Oh, wow.
And Nellie was the oldest sister, and they all worked in there together. So I had my first haircut there. That's where we went. And then later, they bought the 2-story house that's right at the foot of the bridge when you come down onto Main Street. You make the right turn to go to Riverwalk. That first building on the corner there was their salon.
Oh, wow.
And it had a ceramic shop in it, so they did ceramics, and then they did their hair and nails downstairs.
Yeah.
So Mama would get her hair done about 2:00. My dad would go over to 4th Avenue to the barber shop that this building still has the red, white, and blue spinning sign out front of it. It's still there. He would get a haircut, get his shoes shined, and then he would meet all of us back at Nye's drugstore, which is where we went for hamburger and milkshakes and whatever we wanted. They had a short order grill there, as did a lot of the other drugstores in the area.
Yeah.
But that was the one that we spent the most time.
So when you go there, do you have a favorite flavor of milkshake that you would get when you would go? Chocolate. Still chocolate to this day?
Not necessarily.
Person? Yeah. Changed a little bit over?
Yeah. My favorite was getting a cherry smash, which was a Coke with cherry flavoring in it.
Okay.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we have, since we've moved here, we've gone downtown and found some different places. Like we love to go eat breakfast at the Trestle Bakery place.
That was a drugstore too.
Oh, that, I'm telling you, Trestle Bakery, I'm sure you know it. The best red velvet and carrot cake I think I've ever eaten in my life, outside of my mama's. And very good, enjoy that, and some of those places down there. But it's very evident when we moved here that a lot of those places downtown have been there a long time.
Yes.
But you talked about kind of the revitalization downtown. How is that? How do you think that's impacted community in Conway with the revitalization and a lot of the events and things that go on downtown? How do you think that's impacted the community?
Well, before I answer that, I would like to say that my dad's cousin, Wallace Ammons, we called him Buddy, was the baker at the Trestle. And all the donuts and cakes and pies and cookies, he was in charge of all that. He's now passed away, but
that's awesome.
He was the one, the initial one.
Wow.
So I was concerned about Conway because, I knew it was old, and the residential section with all of its beauty, I knew it would always be like it was, but I wasn't sure about the downtown area. And so I feel like the people that had a vision to make it happen, it's been very evident that it's working. And I remember when it first started and they had just a little bit and you wanted to go into town and see what it was all about, and it was fun. And then there came new restaurants and new places for ice cream, and new shops were popping up everywhere. It was very exciting, and it still is.
Yeah.
It takes me back. I like to go there and be a part of everything that they do, and it takes me back to my childhood, and it just brings back so many memories. I just can't even hardly take it all in when I'm over there.
So when you talk about with new restaurants and stuff, so if you go downtown now, what are a couple of the restaurants that you go, that's kind of our one or two
Go
favorite?
to?
Yeah.
Well, we love the Trestle. That's
Yeah.
always going to be a favorite of mine. I love Rivertown Bistro. That's a favorite. And we've kind of branched out with some of the new ones that have coming in. We've tried Whitaker's. We like it. We tried Hoppin' Witch.
Yeah.
And we love the Bonfire. Actually, everything that we've tried, we love it. But I did see at Christmas that there's some new places.
Yeah.
I could smell the Italian
Yeah,
on Main Street.
There's a couple of those.
So
down
there's
there
some
now.
places
Yes.
that I still want to try.
Yeah, and that we love going downtown and grabbing something. All of those restaurants you mentioned, I think we've been to at least once. And I like where trying to get a parking spot in front of one of those restaurants is almost impossible. So it means you're parking a block or two away. But there's even something. Although I haven't grown up here, there's still something nostalgic about walking the downtown street just to get to that restaurant that you're going to eat, and that kind of stuff. And then you take, when Halloween here is massive, Christmas here downtown is massive with all that stuff, and they've done a good job. I think they've done a good job of creating a connected community, but a place that people outside of the area would still come to. This is not just a hometown. This is a destination to visit for a lot of people when they come. A lot of people of our friends that have come to vacation at the beach, and we're like, "Hey, you need to come over." They come over here and they're blown away. They had no idea that this was that close to the beach and all of that. So it sounds like when you think of your arrival story, if you will, with Conway, was family, friends, and a lot of incredible childhood experiences that have, as you've gotten older now, have become fond memories, but you're now making new memories in the same community. So that's pretty awesome. Let's continue. We're going to talk about the transformation. Besides just the downtown renovation, what's the biggest changes you've seen in Conway since you were coming over here as a kid to get a burger and a milkshake, and your mama get her hair done and daddy go to the barbershop? What's been the biggest changes from then till now?
Well, definitely the crowds. I mean, I could walk Main Street and that block around 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, and Laurel and just see a handful of people. And now you actually have to move over on the sidewalk to let folks go by.
Yeah.
And some of the buildings that were drab and kind of boarded up or started to be are now reopened and have a new business, and there's just so many people. I think there's a lot of Conway roots in some of those stores that are opened back up, and people have started new businesses. And to me, I think it's just other people sharing the vision.
I wrote this question out. What's something that you've learned about staying or building your life in this area? What is something for you that has stayed with you through that has molded you into kind of who you are today because you grew up here in the Conway area? How do you feel like that overall, the impact and the type of community that it is, has impacted who you are?
Well, life was much simpler when I was growing up, and I see the closeness of families, the closeness of friends. Friendships were more like family.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone had a need, our family just knew, my parents just knew that there was a need, and they knew how to reach out and what they needed to do. And I think coming from simple roots, humble beginnings, makes me very proud of where I started.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me want to keep that memory alive. Not just for myself, but to share it with my children and my grandchildren.
That's good. There's something about that when you're grounded in a place with the people of that place, that there's some security that even comes from that grounded in that foundation that's built that way from a close-knit community. Again, the blessing that you had to grow up with your grandma here and granddad, what you call granddad?
Granddaddy.
Call him granddaddy. So with all of that extended family and that kind of stuff, it's evident just listening to you that their impact and influence has truly shaped a lot of who you are, and how you want to continue to impact your kids, your grandkids, and future great-grandkids.
I was blessed to have 2 sets of grandparents.
Yeah.
One, they all lived in Socastee, but then when my mom's dad passed away, and they were still living in Socastee, my grandmother went to live in Jamestown, in Conway, with my youngest aunt and her family. And she was one of the oldest members of the First Baptist Church. As a matter of fact, I have in my possession the typed copy of the service that Pastor Lovell used for her funeral service at First Baptist Church. And my dad had cousins there, and I didn't just grow up with older aunts and uncles. I grew up with first cousins, a lot of first cousins in Socastee, Conway, and Myrtle Beach that were my playmates because the area wasn't nearly as big back then as it is now. So they were my playmates. They were my best friends growing up.
Yeah, that's, again, what an incredible blessing to be able to have that as a foundation for who you are as a person. And there's so much of that it sounds like you want to continue to see that in the rest of your family, and as your family grows and all of that. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to switch to the H part here. So we talk about your purpose, your arrival, kind of transformation. So let's finish here with heart. One of the things I wrote here is that if you had to describe the heart of Conway in one word or one phrase, what would that be, and why would you say that?
I would say historically elegant.
Historically elegant, I like that.
Because it has a tremendous amount of history. Things that I don't even know. I can look back at the pictures and it takes me back, but I only go back to 1954, so I don't know all of the history. But what I do know and what I've seen in the changes over the years, it's just very important to who I am and how I got to where I am today.
Yeah.
And the elegance part is that they have preserved the beautiful trees, the residential section where the roads are built around the trees instead of the trees getting taken out. So many of the memories of the old buildings and up and down Main Street. I think historically elegant is a perfect
that's a
phrase
great
for
description. Great description. So I want to take on a quick little journey with this whole thing of heart. I've done a lot of, mentioned before, some personal development and some business development training and personal growth and stuff like that. One of my favorite authors, one of my favorite people to listen to is a guy named Dr. John Maxwell, and was a pastor for many years, leadership expert. And when he talks about, and he asks people to tell me about your heart, he puts it this way. He says this: what do you cry about in your life? What causes discomfort? What causes and motivates you to want to make a change? That's the first one. The next is, what do you sing about? Right? What brings you the great joy? What are you just gonna, you're just gonna break out and, you may not actually sing, but you're just gonna be in that kind of that. And then what do you dream about? If you could do something significant or something that will make an impact. So let's hit those real quick. So for Debbie, what does Debbie cry about when it comes in? And I'm not talking about that something happens and you're sad, but that thing that you're like, I see that need and I wish I could make a difference there.
relationships. When I was growing up, family was everything. And it wasn't just our immediate family, it was extended family.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that there's been a breakdown in the family unit. So I cry about when I see relationships suffering, but mostly because I know why they suffer. Because people have moved away from what's really important and what holds a family together, and that is our faith and relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right, so question number 2 there. What does Debbie sing about? What brings you the greatest joy?
Well, my husband calls me a walking jukebox because I know so many songs from the past, from Motown and beach music, but when I'm extremely happy, I sing. When I'm extremely sad, I have found that singing also turns that around. So if I want to get out of whatever I'm dealing with, I will crank up the praise and worship music or the old Southern gospels, and that changes things.
Yeah. So when you say you sing when you're really happy, you sing when you're really sad, what are those things that make you really happy? That you're like, oh, man, if this happens, or I get to see this person, or whatever. What are those happy joy things in your life?
Well, I have a prayer journal, and when God answers one of those prayers, and He does it a lot, I put a P beside it and I circle it because that's a praise. He answered it. So when there's something really big that we've been praying about, maybe it's somebody being healed, somebody accepting Him, somebody breaking an addiction, whatever it might be that I know that I've been praying about and God answers it, it's worthy of me singing His praises.
That's awesome. I like that. And then lastly, what does Debbie dream about? What's your, again, still got lots of life ahead. What's that dream? What's that goal? What do you dream about?
I want to make a difference. Whenever I retired from teaching, my purpose did not end there. As a matter of fact, I feel like the greatest purpose I have now is to show my grandchildren who I am and share those memories with them and to make an impact on them. I want them all to know how important they are to me and that they are gifts from God and blessings. Yeah.
That is a message that a lot of kids don't hear today, that you're a gift and you're a blessing. They hear a lot of other things that are not very positive said about them, and having someone to speak that into their life, it's evident that people did that in your life, and now you're taking that role of being able to do that. So I've enjoyed stepping through the path. I hope that everybody on the podcast, as you've listened, I hope that you've taking a little trip down memory lane as well. I want to finish with two things. The first is what we call the Wheel of Real. We're going to give you a chance to spin it, and then I'm going to have some questions based on what that is that I'm going to ask. And then when we finish with that, the floor will be yours. You'll be able to say, thanks, anybody you want to thank, anything you want to kind of wrap up with, my number one word of wisdom is, whatever you want to do as we kind of finish up. And then I'll close us out and we'll be done. So I've got our Wheel of Real right here. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to actually spin it. So you can just grab it wherever and spin it. And then what number does that say right there? We have number two. Okay. All right. So as you look back over life, what's one failure, mistake or something that you learned from the most that taught you the greatest life lesson?
Well, I think that no one goes into a marriage initially thinking that it's going to fail. And even though I felt like I gave my all in my first marriage, made a lot of sacrifices, I know it wasn't just always one-sided. Mm. And so I wish that I could figure out a way that when relationships fail for whatever reason, that people forgive, they move on, and they learn from their mistakes and don't blame the other person, because we're all sinners and we're all under the grace of God. And so if we could extend that same grace to other people, the world would be so much better place to live.
I hope you're listening to what Debbie said there, because there were four things that jumped out on what you just said. Number one is you learn to forgive. That's not always easy. And we're reminded of this, that forgiveness is really more for us than it is about the person we're forgiven. Because whether or not they receive that or not doesn't matter. It's that we chose to forgive, which helps you to do the next thing, which helps you then to move on. And to take, this situation and move from that to the next, which you then said that you learned from it. So when you got to that next situation, you entered that differently because of what you've learned through that. And then the last was that it's not a blaming game. Because a lot of times what we found is that if we spend more time blaming other people, we end up with the other word that starts with a B, which is bitterness. Mm-hmm. And bitterness can eat us up from the inside. So forgive, learn to move on, take what you've learned, right? And then at that point in time, it's not a blame game, and then continue to get better. I think that's an incredible 4 things there for people, that regardless of what, because here's the thing, true or false, everybody has problems. True, right? Do we all either have bad things happen to us or we do bad things. We all experience those. The question is who are we going to be on the other side of those? And I think those 4 things are powerful. So I'm going to give the floor to you. You can talk to the camera, whatever you want to do, and just kind of say anything as you want to wrap up. And then we're going to call it an evening.
Okay. So I think for myself, becoming better rather than bitter, back to what we were just talking about, and giving back, which I already mentioned. But I found that my passion is not to sit around and be idle, but to find a way, don't just talk about giving back, but find a way to put that into action. And so my passion has become working with senior citizens. I volunteer for the last couple of years at a senior center here in Carolina Forest. And these people have become my heart. They say I'm a blessing to them and they call me sunshine, but to me, they are a tremendous blessing.
Yeah.
And they've taught me so much from their wisdom. And I love helping them and spending time with them and listening to their stories. I want them to know that they are important. And just because they're in their 80s or 90s does not mean that they don't still have a purpose. So I would ask anybody out there, if you are interested in giving back to the seniors, to get involved with the Horry County Council on Aging, because that's where my passion is.
Awesome.
And they are an amazing group of people. We have, I think, 14 centers in the area that all take care of seniors and give them a place to go socialize and then continue enjoying their lives.
Yeah. Well, you heard it from Deborah there, or Debbie. You heard it from Debbie. Go make a difference. Doesn't matter what your age is, doesn't matter what your abilities are. Everybody has an opportunity to go out there and make a difference. Debbie, I want to say thank you so much. I have appreciated our time together. I look forward to getting to know you guys better. Maybe we need to go over and grab a piece of cake over at Trestle or do something like that later on. But thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your time with us. Mark, thanks for being here as well. Couldn't hardly keep him quiet over there, but we appreciate him being with us as well. I want to remind you real quick, again, my name is Jay Thompson, pastor at Pathway Church, and the Pathway to Conway podcast is sponsored by Pathway Church. And if you're looking for a place to get connected and learn more about what Debbie's talked about and that we connect on from a faith, not in something, but as someone in Jesus and what that looks like, we'd love to connect with you about that. And I always say this at the end of the podcast. I've come up with my little tagline is until next time, keep taking the next step on your path. Awesome.
Thank
That
you.
was very good.